there, welcome back to my channel. I am so glad that you are here. Happy New Year to you. If this is the first time you've seen me here in 2025, and I hope for those who have already been hanging out with me this year and beyond, obviously, that your new year is going off well as well. So we are getting into more reality associated TV at this point. So now if you are a fan or have been a fan or did used to watch, whatever the case may be, the VH1 shows Basketball Wives, you will know there has been so many things going on with many different elements of all the cast members. At some point or other, right? There's lots of stories going on for lots of things that are playing out, not only on the show itself, but also in real life and maybe use social media as well. And so I came across this sharing, and this is of one of the Basketball Wives alums, Brittish Williams. Now, if you were watching it a few years back, you probably would have seen her as one of the stars on the show. She actually had started for a few episodes, or a few seasons rather, when I believe when it crossed over from Miami to California, Miami to LA. And she was there for a few seasons, and then she kind of dipped out, as most of the cast members do from time to time. And then she did show back up again for which would have been her last stint for maybe a couple more seasons. But unfortunately, she had been dealing with some legal issues, in which was shared on the show during her time as well. She briefly went over some of the things that was going on, and it turns out things got real serious real quick, and she's no longer on the show, but still is an alum. And I don't know if we will see her on the show again, if in fact the show, continues to return beyond the point of where she is right now. So as if you are familiar with Brittish, you will have known she was a basketball wife, or a basketball girlfriend rather. She has a daughter as well with the gentleman that was a basketball player at the time. They may reference his name here. I can never remember his name. So if it's referenced here, we'll go over it. But this is really about her and what's going on with her situation. Now, apparently she had a fraud case that was happening with a lot of different elements provided in that. And it did get a lot of coverage over the last couple of years or so. I want to say that I think she was not only charged, but went through her trial and then got convicted. And I believe last year went in for her sentencing. So in other words, is away in, I guess, jail at this point. She did, and as most individuals in their situation, is going through the appeals process, and an appeals was set for her sentencing because she got 4 years. And I believe, felt that maybe that was over the amount that it should be for the charges that she was convicted of. So we are going to go into the details in regards to the sentencing appeal that's currently going on at this moment. But then actually, when I say currently, it was going on because now what has happened as the appeal that she has placed in the system has been denied. So let's go ahead and get into it. We'll probably get a few more details associated with the charges as well, just to kind of bring you up to speed if you're not already familiar, or for reference if you remembered at the time initially when it was being shared and just needed a little bit of a refresh of what's going on currently. So let's go ahead and get into that. Now, this sharing is coming from In Touch Weekly. It shares that Basketball Wives Brittish Williams shut down an appeal of 4-year prison sentence over alleged fraud. Basketball Wives star Brittish Williams lost her effort to have her 4-year prison sentence vacated due to her claims the judge treated her unfairly, In Touch can't exclusively report. Now, according to court documents obtained by In Touch, the United States Court of Appeals denied Brittish's plea to be resentenced. The order said the district court did not abuse its discretion when considering Brittish's celebrity during sentencing. In the reality star appeal documents, Brittish laid out her case for her prison sentence to be reviewed. In May of 2023, Brittish reached a plea deal with prosecutors as part of the federal criminal case filed against her. The government accused Brittish of tax, bank, and wire fraud. At her sentencing in October of 2023, the judge ordered Brittish to serve 4 years in prison, followed by 5 years of supervised release. The court also ordered her to pay back $565,000. At the hearing, the judge told Brittish, "You knew what you were doing, you knew it was wrong, and you did it anyway." The defendant launched a scheme that led to a variety of financial crimes, including tax fraud, bank fraud, COVID loan fraud, and identity theft, said one agent who worked on the case. Ms. Williams displayed a blatant disregard for the victims of her deceit. Financial crimes of this magnitude deserve to be punished to the fullest extent of the law. Now, Brittish was ordered to serve her time in Alderson FPC prison in West Virginia. Brittish quickly filed an appeal of that sentence. Her lawyer argued that Brittish Williams appeals her 40-month sentence imposed following a guilty plea. The district court calculated a higher guidelines range than that explicitly agreed to by the other parties and failed to acknowledge Ms. Williams' arguments that the negotiated range in the plea argument should be given some consideration as it was explicitly a basis for the entry of the plea. Her lawyer also claimed that Brittish was treated unfairly due to her fame. He said the district court also improperly sentenced Ms. Williams based on her status as a reality TV celebrity, finding that she was more worthy of punishment because she failed to live up to the court's ideal of a role model that it believed should be fulfilled by all public figures. This resulted in a sentencing process that Ms. Williams now contends was unreasonable, and she asked that her sentence thus be vacated. Her lawyer argued, regardless of what the court privately believed a celebrity should be, it is inappropriate to punish a criminal defendant for failing to live up to that standard that it would not impose upon the average defendant. Now, Ms. Williams was not a public official or a civil servant. She wasn't holding herself out as a role model or moral guide. He added, she was a reality TV star and entertainer. The standard she should be compared to, or could be compared against, is no different from the standard that a plumber or a pilot should be held to. Now, Brittish's lawyer continued the district court chose to treat her differently than it would treat any other similarly situated defendant, and explicitly so. The district court explained that it believed that Ms. Williams had obligations to the public that, one second. Let's go back. It believed that Ms. Williams had obligations to the public that the other citizens do not have, and solely by virtue of her fame, her failure to meet these obligations made her more deserving of punishment than an identical defendant with less fame. He added, this is not okay. The government asked the higher court to deny Brittish's appeal. The prosecutor scoffed at the suggestion that the reality star was treated unfairly due to her being famous. In September, the higher court took the case under review, and the decision to deny Brittish's appeal was entered on December 31st. So there you have it. There is so much going on, I think, with the situation and the sentencing. I do remember that Brittish had her thoughts and shared those thoughts about how she felt that things were being handled unfairly in regards to her sentencing. That was a lot of communication that was coming out in regards to that before she actually set foot in prison. Now, again, these are federal crimes, and so they are of a serious magnitude. And this does go into play definitely a conversation that's always attached, it seems like, to many celebrities in different statuses for different crimes and different levels of what punishment is to if they're being actually adhered to in a fair manner when it comes to the convictions and also the sentencing. So at this point, judge, of course, has come online and says, no, everything was done fairly and everything was done in a way that should have been copacetic, as for would be the same for anybody else. However, there definitely seems to be some contradiction for the side of Brittish and her team in regards to that saying. One thing that did strike me about this particular sharing also is that the conversation about role model. Now, I did find that to be interesting, whether or not that was brought up from the other side, meaning the prosecution side or the judges themselves. I did find it interesting that anyone would really necessarily look at a reality star or any individual for that matter as a particular role model when it comes to the type of entertainment that these individuals are more than on their own to be able to do. There's nothing to say. I mean, there are entertainers, and so to look at that individual and think that you're going to get the sum of that person just by what you see on screen, to me would be definitely a misguided way of thinking when it comes to dealing with the real life synopsis. So, of course, the judge saying that none of this took place and that no, everything was done fairly, it is definitely a question that most individuals do tend to have from time to time when they see that, certain individuals of certain celebrity status can either A, be overcharged or over sentenced, or can be less charged and less sentence. And there could be parables in between as well. It also could depend on the celebrity status of that individual, the level of influence this individual has, and maybe there could be biases along the way in regards to whether the person that you're up in front of looks at you or deems you a certain way and therefore feels that you deserve a certain sentence and justify their thought of whatever they see. This has also been conversation that's come up with cases where you may have rappers who are going in for trial for different crimes that have been alleged against them. And, when they come to the point where the conversation is being had, that whatever they rapped about in different songs was something that should be used as a consideration when it came to a certain case. And whether it does or not is, to my feelings, irrelevant, because that shouldn't be something that's put in as a defense or an offense to whatever the situation is, considering that is a form of entertainment and should be not looked upon or added into the situation at hand when it comes to these trials. So I guess we'll have to see how all of this shapes up in regards to if British will continue to fulfill her 4-year prison sentence for these fraud charges. They are pretty damning, considering it's tax fraud, bank fraud, and also probably the epidemic type of fraud situation. I wonder if that's really associated with PPP loans. They didn't specify that in the sharing, but whatever maybe whatever they're looking at as fraud was associated for that as well. We have heard several cases, I know I have, and individuals that were basically, whether it be celebrity or not celebrity, finding themselves in trouble when it came to those PPP loans and so forth. So it's unfortunate for British because she really did seem like she was really in a position for the ability to have whatever she wanted. Honestly, I think she was pretty popular on the show itself, and to be able to go through the duration and be able to utilize that to help with your businesses and all that. This is what reality stars do. So it is unfortunate, and not to also mention that she does have a little girl who is not going to be with her mother for a good bit of years. I don't recall the age of her daughter. I want to say it may be somewhere between 4, she may be between 4 and 7 maybe. And so these are pivotal years that she will not be with her mother on a daily basis. And so I know that she was very close to her daughter, at least that's what was presented on the show. So I do find that to be quite upsetting and discerning for her daughter, because not only is British going through the situation of her actions or alleged actions, her daughter's also paying a price as well. So we'll see as time goes on. I'm actually going to be keeping my eyes on this because, again, I watched Basketball Wives. I watched during the time British was on. And I would just like to know for myself, what is going on and how things are evolving as this time goes on. I don't know how many opportunities she will have for appealing at different variations. So I guess time will tell, and I again will be keeping abreast of it myself and sharing it with you. If you're interested, definitely you'll be able to see the updates here on that. So with that, I think that'll be about it for this video, and I'm going to be bidding you adieu. I thank you so much for being here, and of course, if you are new here, you haven't had an opportunity to hit the subscribe button, I hope that you will become part of the community, be part of the family. I would so love to have you. Definitely throw your thoughts down in the comment section below. I would like to know what you're thinking in regards to this sharing, and do you think that the charges for the situation and the punishment associated with that, do you think that there may have been some bias? I mean, of course, the ruling is the ruling, but we can have our thoughts and opinions and thoughts about that. So I would like to know what yours is. Whether or not this is a situation, in my opinion, if she was over sentenced or not, I guess for me, it'll remain to be seen, because I would need to look at some options of where people might have had something similar and see what happened with there. It could be a state to state situation as well. These are federal charges, so it depends on where it goes up in, that echelon as far as which federal accent, I guess, is actually reviewing your case and bringing the charges to you. So, one that we're often familiar with is the, was the 7th District of New York. We hear that quite a bit, right? For a lot of cases that are currently going on and ones that have been pretty much high powered and high vis. Jen Shaw from Real Housewives of was it Salt Lake City comes to mind. Of course, P. Diddy going through his trials right now comes to mind as well. And so, yeah, whether or not this will end up being a different situation for her, we'll just have to see. But I definitely want to know your thoughts below. So definitely feel free to leave those thoughtful comments down there, and let's have a conversation about it. And again, want to know what you're thinking as well. So with that, I'm going to again bid you adieu. You take care, be blessed. Make sure you have your all notification bell on. I will be dropping another video for later on this evening. So I definitely would love to see what you're thinking about that sharing as well. I also dropped a video earlier today. So if you haven't had a chance to take a look at that, go ahead after this one is done, take a peek through and, or is it look see? Yeah, look see. Look see, take a peek at that video as well. And I would definitely love to know your thoughts. Yeah, with that, I'm going to say goodbye. So take care and be blessed. And until next time, bye.